So what's missing from the training of lawyers and barristers now, do you think? They're getting, if anything, more training than they used to.
Well, that might be the problem. I haven't. I retired in 2005 from the Supreme Court, so I've had little contact with the modern generation, except for my two children. But I think the educational demands are so high and the standards are so high. It's a wood for the trees situation that they often lose sight of what their real role is the promotion of or defence of various rights and interests, and they get tied up in areas of law that I'd never heard of. And they've become far more expensive. I think that's a real problem with modern practice.
But what you're talking about, I suppose, is the trend to greater specialisation.
Yes. We couldn't afford... my specialisation happened by chance, and I nurtured it and developed it. But that didn't mean I didn't do anything else. But now there is the whole area, for example, of intellectual property, that a person can now devote their whole career to one aspect of that and end up a federal court judge, for example.
Are you saying in a way that if you are going to end up as a member of the judiciary, it would be better to have a much broader experience, in a sense, than being a specialist?
I certainly believe that, because the judges got to be there to be able to deal with anyone's strife, drama and conflict and resolve it. And the broader their life experience, the better qualified they are, in my view, to be judicial figures.
You spoke of Tom Hughes and Alex Shan being gladiators, exponents in the best sense of the word of the better art of advocacy. What did you yourself learn about advocacy? How do you describe yourself as an advocate?
I could never be of the ruthless gladiatorial standard of Alex Shan or Tom Hughes, or indeed Michael McHugh. I always tried to be fair, which is in fact the duty of an advocate, and often had consciously to curb a gladiatorial moment, because I perhaps didn't have such self-confidence to let myself loose, as it were. So looking back, I probably in many cases might have erred on the side of caution rather than advanced with a higher level of bravado.
Some advocates I've interviewed have said, well, it doesn't really matter how many times you bash your fists on the podium, how many plums you have in the mouth, the essence is really preparation. But in a sense, though, you are also speaking with admiration of those who did have that rather theatrical quality. What do you think in the end really, really counts, though? I think you've sort of alluded to this in speeches you've made. You've really said about getting at the truth. You've talked about accuracy, you've talked about fairness. I gather, really, you belong more in that preparation is key camp.
The ultimate objective, idealistic though it is the attainment of truth. One must prepare one's cases, and one must be, as part of one's role as an advocate, able to persuade. It's the power of persuasion. And there are different ways of doing it. One can thump the table, one can use very sophisticated forms of rhetoric. I used to try and be reasonable and common sense in a certain and as robustly as possible. But the finding of truth, getting to the truth was very interesting, because I remember Gordon Samuels, the former governor and another great advocate and an appeal judge, addressing us at the Supreme Court bench on one occasion at a function when he was governor. And he made a statement that was blindingly obvious, but I never heard it said before. And to this day, I don't know whether he was saying it or he was repeating someone else's statement. He said, the adversary system has evolved not to find the truth, but to find a winner. And I was very impressed with that, and I think he's more probably than not right. And that's a very sad commentary on the evolution of the law.
You were to allude to that in a speech some years back, but I am actually interested in that very point. Some might say, wasn't it ever thus, that the adversarial system was mainly more about the winner than the truth?
Oh, well, historically, you could probably find an explanation from that. In the Anglo system, the English-based system, the common law system, that might be where the parties choose the issues, which is fundamental to the adversary system. Once the parties have the power to choose the issues, then whatever lengths are required to promote the particular chosen issue might depart from the acquisition of the truth rather than its being attained, and whoever does that better wins.